hereby gives public notice that it is the agency's policy to assure full compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987, and all related statutes and regulations in its programs and activities. Title VI requires that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, sex, national origin, age, or disability, be excluded from the participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to the discrimination under any federal aid highway program or other activity for which Pima County receives federal finance assistance. Any person who believes his or her Title VI protection has been violated may file a complaint. Any such complaint must be in writing and filed with the Pima County Transportation Department's Title VI coordinator within 180 days following the date of the alleged discriminatory occurrence. Title VI discrimination complaint forms may be obtained from Pima County Transportation Department by contacting Katrina Noble, and her information is on the screen.
Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Melissa can come on as just because we do have a quorum. So let's all stand for the pledge. John Burnell is going to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Gilbert, would you go ahead and call the roll, please?
John Winchester.
He's present, having a hard time with audio.
Okay. Sean Samsel.
Present.
Melissa Brown Dominguez. Kelly Lee.
Present.
Charlene Robinson.
Present.
Lucretia Free.
Present.
Tom Beresny.
Present.
Frank Santa Cruz.
Present.
Ed Verberg.
Present.
John Bernal.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum.
Excellent. We'll move ahead. We have a lot on the agenda today. We do have participants in the audience also who want to address the committee, so we'll move ahead as speedily as we can. However, it's my privilege to introduce a new committee member, Kelly Lee. She's with District 3, and she is a senior program manager with Land Development KB Home. So I've asked her if she'll say a few words about her background so we can all get to know her a little bit more.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be part of this committee as my first day. I'm a graduate of the U of A, and I am the entitlement manager at KB Home. I've been there at KB Home for 4 years now, and I really enjoy my job there. Prior to that, I was at the City of Tucson Planning and Development Services as a lead planner, working on site review and project management. And prior to that, I was at the Planning Center, which is a land use consulting firm, and I was there for 15 years, so quite a long time. And I just want to mention I do have 2 little boys. One is 10 and one is 7, so I'm a pretty busy lady. Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. We're pleased you're with us. Okay, I hope everybody's had an opportunity to look at the minutes of the last meeting. I would like to comment again. I read these minutes every time. I hope all of you do. And I think they're very thorough, very well done, very professionally done. So thank you, Gilbert, and staff who work on these minutes. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I move to approve.
Patricia, okay, and Tom? Any comments before we approve the minutes? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Very good. The minutes are approved from the last meeting. And by the way, I want to thank everybody for attending. Once Melissa gets on, we'll have 100% again. We had 100%. She's on. So we have 100%. We have a lot to do today that's important to the committee, and we want to listen to the folks who have comments for us. So we'll allow time for that. The next item on the agenda is something we've been talking about for 2 or 3 meetings, particularly the last 2 meetings. What should we be doing going forward as a committee We've accomplished a lot over the last few years, thanks largely to the wonderful staff with the Department of Transportation and the committee members. We have a ways to go, and we've talked about what areas or what topics do we want to focus on in the future. And we came up with a list in the last meeting, and you have in front of you, I think Gilbert labeled it a ballot. I think of it as a ranking sheet, where you would just let us know what you think we ought to do sooner than later. We'll do all these things. There's nothing excluded here. As a matter of fact, I think there was a comment in the last meeting, it may have been Latricia, we'll have other things come up as we go along. That's okay too. But this will set a little bit of direction for the committee. So I'm going to ask everyone to pull out their, as Gilbert calls it, the ballot, and vote 1 through 4, with 1 being a little higher priority for you and 4 being maybe a little lower or moderate priority. So go ahead and mark your ballots. I'll do the same, and then give them to Gilbert. We are going to take about a 10-minute break so he can enter all the information. We'll come back and see the results up on the screen. I've asked him to do a PowerPoint with results. And he's got an Excel spreadsheet, so he's going to be pretty speedy on this. So we don't have to worry about that. So go ahead and fill it out. We're just going to call 10 minutes out while he's computing everything, and we'll get back together. So fill away and hand in. Thank you. And report on the subcommittee, so we don't just sit and wait too much time, and yet we have enough time to tabulate the results accurately. So John, if you'd go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, we met on February 14th, and I have to thank the committee members that participated. We had the full subcommittee, and Tom joined us as well, and we had, I think, a very productive 2 hours discussion about the efforts that the Transportation Department has undertaken to review where we've been the last 4 years and what we might be thinking about going forward. And it's pretty impressive when you get a chance to look back, the fact that the department is investing almost $250 million in our road system in the last 4 years. You know, you kind of lose sight of it when we're here doing this, committee work day to day, but it's a lot of money and obviously a lot of expectations from the public for results. And so I think that's what the staff is looking at now. We've done well. Can we keep going on the trajectory we're on, or should we rethink it? And that's kind of where we are. The staff, like I said, guided us through a very good presentation, left us with some kind of, I guess I'd call them tentative recommendations for us to give some further thought to, and we've got our next meeting scheduled as well. But I guess the important point is this. The staff is now saying to us, look, we set some ambitious goals. We made a lot of progress towards those goals, but are they still the legitimate, or the, shouldn't say legitimate, but are they the goals that, are we achieving those goals so that we get the maximum return on investment and to have a sustainable program? And that's a mouthful, and it's not as easy to accomplish as it might sound. So, for example, as you know, we've been focused on getting the entire system up to an 80 rating because that's in the good category. Well, it's going to take a lot of investment to get us to that level. And so that's why I think we're reviewing this. Staff has done a lot of research with other organizations as well. And so, again, I think we're getting some good, strong information to digest and to mull over. And at some point, we'll be back to this full committee talking about whether we support or at least will encourage the department to undertake some new direction. But there are going to be some tough choices. For example, again, we've been tracking in the local road program in particular to do the worst first. Well, we've done well, but there's still a lot of local roads to be done. But we're saying, is that really the right direction to keep concentrating on getting the entire local road system done once? Or do we risk losing some of the investment we've already made if we don't pay attention there? So pretty challenging discussion, I guess I would suggest to you, and I'll leave it at that. If any of the subcommittee members have anything else they'd like to add, I'd welcome that. Mr. Chair, that's my report.
Yeah, excellent report. Having sat in on that meeting as a member, I would just say it was very thought-provoking. John captured what we're looking at very well. So I think the next meeting is what, March 7th? Is that right, John? That's right. Yeah, so we'll ponder some more and figure out where we go. It's not easy, but we'll get there. Since we're on a roll, are you still working at this? I have it. You have it. Okay, you want to post it?
We need a drum roll, please.
So we actually have a tie in terms of total counts. So for Explore future funding sources, future sources of funding, it's ranked in order of fifth, as the fifth highest ranking one, as well as the last one, briefing on moving private roads and homeowners associations to county maintained roadways, also ranked fifth in terms of how many counts they had, total of 5. So right now, what appears to be the number one, topic would be the frequency of PTAC community meetings. That has the highest count. And then, of course, the other two come in second place as fifth, and the other one, number 4, with the least amount of votes, is the Pima County Department of Transportation Plans for Growth in general.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, the way I kind of look at this is, and I've pondered this a little bit too, and that is, what's number one? Let's say we work on funding options. While we're working on funding options, coming up with formats and information and fill that out, there's no reason why we can't be doing this briefing on private roads for HOAs. So I think we can fit this together. The sense of the group is, I think that all these areas are worth working on as we go forward. And that's what we wanted to capture. So, for example, I think working out a format for the funding options will take a little time. We'll do a draft, we'll run it by the committee. As I said, in the meantime, we can do the HOA briefing. So we'll ask staff to go ahead and start preparing that, and we'll fix up a draft. And frequency of meetings, I think that corresponds, since that's of high interest, with how much work we'll have to do. So, for example, we're still meeting monthly for the subcommittee meeting, so our meetings should be monthly to correspond with that. And it may be these two topics that seem to come out a little higher in terms of not frequency of meetings, is where we devote our efforts over the next few months, and we maybe stay meeting for monthly for a few months, maybe 6 months, and then we back off and figure out maybe less frequent meetings, every other month or maybe quarterly, depending upon how much is in front of us, okay? And frankly, also, how much public input are we getting? Because that's part of why we're set up. So thank you all for putting this in. I think we have some clear signals as to what to do. And thank you, Gilbert, for helping put this together. And this will be a part of our minutes, so we'll all see it again. So any questions or further comments or discussion related to the results? Okay, if not, let's go to RTA next update. Oh, I'm sorry, road repair update, Jason. I'm not trying to skip over you, Jason. Too important. Oh, before Jason starts, I wanted to mention that Supervisor Steve Christie is on WebEx with us. Thank you for joining us. We're always honored to have you a part of our meetings. If you have any questions or items you'd like to bring up as we go along, please let us know. Thank you. Go ahead, Jason.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. We're proud to present this road repair program update for February of 2023. So to start off with, let's look at some substantially complete projects. So all the ones in black are projects that we've talked about previously. You'll see there are 3 in red there that are brand new to this substantially complete list since the last time that we spoke. And those are the Meadowbrook North Point Terrace ADA JOC, the Linda Vista Bridlewood ADA JOC, and the Heritage Hills Metropolitan ADA. What that means is that all of our curb ramp and ADA projects are now substantially complete for this fiscal year, which is a huge accomplishment to this point in the year. So then talking about some projects that we still have in construction, you can see there's quite a extensive list there actually. We've got a lot of projects going on currently. Catalina Foothills North is currently ongoing. They're expected to finish their paving work here within the next week or so, and then it'll be utility adjustments ongoing after that. The Tanca Verde project is getting ready to launch with paving here in the next week or so. So that one will get ramped up very quickly. Catalina Foothills East is also quickly coming to a conclusion. The paving work on that job is expected to be complete here within the next week or so as well, with utility adjustments moving along very nicely afterward. The Catalina Foothills West job is also done paving at this time. The utility adjustments are ongoing, and that one's expected to be complete in the substantial completion within the next month or so. The Southeast Jock is, it says up there, NTP of February 23rd. That actually was revised to the 27th. As everyone probably is aware, it's been raining a lot. The Southeast Jock is down in rural Pima County, so they've actually gotten quite a lot of snow. And so that's delayed the project getting started, but it is started now, and they are moving along quite nicely. Costa Doble South also just began with utility adjustments and then paving this week. And then our crack seal project is also moving along nicely. Again, also being a little delayed by weather, which I don't think anyone's going to complain about the rain, right? We love the rain. Another job to talk about. So we talked a little bit about Costa Doble South. So I just wanted to go over this project a little bit with you. This is in construction currently. This is the area between Ina on the north end of the project. On the east side is La Cañada. West side is Shannon, and south side is Gardner. So that project is currently in construction and going to be moving along quite nicely here. The Costa Dobles North job is also been awarded. So this job was awarded to Southern Arizona Paving. The low bid for this job was $4.5 million, and there are 10.19 miles of local roads and 3.56 miles of arterial collector roads. The general area on this is between Ina and Lambert and Hartman and Oracle. It looks like the formatting got a little funky on the slide, so I apologize for that. The completion date for this job is the 30th of June, and the contractor is currently expecting to start that job around the late April timeframe. This job is the Heritage Hills Mill and Pave job. This is currently advertised. We have a bid opening for this job today. So we'll have an apparent low bidder this afternoon on this job. There are 5.36 miles of local roads and 2.83 miles of arterial collector. And this job is also required to be completed by the end of June. And that's the area between McGee and between McGee, north of Ina, east of Thornydale, and west of Meredith. Another job, this is the Linda Vista Mill and Pave. This is one of our jock paving contracts. This job was actually just awarded. So on the slide, it'll say bid opening in 2/23. We actually did have that advertisement and award, and that job was awarded to Tucson Asphalt for $1.9 million, which is slightly under the engineer's estimate. So good news on that one as well. And there are 4.52 miles of local roads in that subdivision. Another job, this is the Meadowbrook North Point Terrace job. This was also advertised and also awarded last week. The engineer's estimate was 1.35 to 1.45 million, and the low bid came in at $1.28 million, and it was also awarded to Tucson Asphalt. And there are 3.59 miles of local roads. And all of these projects that we're talking about are end of June completion dates. One last one to talk about, this is the Moondance Bridalwood Estates mill and pave job. This is currently in package prep. The engineer's estimate is $1.25 to $1.35 million. We haven't set a bid opening yet, but we are anticipating advertising this job within the next week or two. It will also be a completion date of June 30th, and there are 2.73 miles of local roads on this project. So that's a lot of projects. So let's talk about where we're at this year. You can see on our pie chart there, we have quite a lot of our roads in the complete status already, a lot of projects there, a good chunk in that in construction phase, as well as another good chunk in the awarded phase that is getting ready to get started here shortly. And then we still have that little bit that's advertised as well. Some of that advertised column did shift over to the awarded column last week, though. As always, remind everyone that you can view the status of all of our roads for the fiscal year, as well as which roads had been completed in previous years at our road repair map, the link there below. And with that, I will open for any questions.
Jason,
Yes.
so the low bid on a few of those projects that you just briefed, is that attributed to the decrease in the square yard cost for asphalt? Because I remember at the subcommittee meeting, you briefed that it had peaked about $30 per square yard. So is it coming down now, and has that figured into your calculations?
It has a little bit. We have seen those numbers come down a little. We're still averaging about $20 to $21 a square yard, though. So it's still higher than we were at the start of last fiscal year,
Right.
where we started out at about $10 to $12.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Jason? If not, we'll go to RTA next. Director Skinner, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Verberg and members of the committee. I'm Catherine Skinner, Director of Transportation for Pima County. And as always, I'm given an update on where we are with the Regional Transportation Authority Next program. I want to recognize that John Bernal is a member of the Technical Management Committee, and Charlene is on the CART Committee for the RTA as well. Well, since our last meeting in January of this body, the RTA board has not yet met. They are scheduled to meet on March 23rd. There will be many key decisions that we're waiting for that body to make in order to move the program forward. But there have been a lot of meetings in the meantime. The RTA Citizens Advisory Committee has met 2 times since our last meeting on January 24th. They have created a project list of 28 projects. This list has changed from the original list of projects that we brought forth. When I spoke of it, at one time we only had 2 county projects on that list of RTA Next projects, and now we have increased that by another 6 projects. So originally we were talking about the Sonoran Corridor project, which is a right-of-way acquisition only phase of that project, as well as the Irvington Road Ajo Highway to Mission Road project. Now we've added to the list Valencia Road Mission to Camino de Oeste, Orange Grove Road from La Cholla Boulevard to Oracle Road, Thornydale Road, Cortero Road to Tangerine, Drexel Road from Cardinal to Mission, Colossal Cave Road from I-10 to Marianne Cleveland Way, and then further on to Camino Loma Alta. And those projects really capture a lot of our high need projects that we were they ranked very high in our individual jurisdiction rankings. So many of you have heard of us speak of Thornydale and Valencia and Orange Grove, and then of course the Vale area has been vocal, so getting the Colossal Cave added was helpful. Originally, the county projects only made up about 2.5% of the total for the roadway element. Now we're up to about 15%, so that's much better for us. The CAC also discussed the categorical elements of the program. Those include safety, environmental and economic vitality, and a transit program. And so that discussion just began last week. The Technical Management Committee, which is another committee looking at the program from another angle, it has met one time since our January 24th meeting. They did not take any further action on the list, but they also have seen this list of projects. And then just last week, the RTA Executive Director released a draft sample RTA Next ballot to the RTA Board, presumably in anticipation of their meeting that is coming up next week. That project sample ballot includes the entire roadway project list that we discussed earlier, as well as the 4 projects that the RTA Board has already taken action to defer to the RTA Next program. And then it lists those categorical elements, though it's missing the dollar amounts for those. The total budget for RTA Next, as they're looking at it now, is a $2.3 billion program. So those have been the activities since our last meeting. It is progressing with many meetings of many different committees, all intersecting in their decision points. So please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to hear them. If Mr. Bernal or Ms. Robinson want to add anything, please feel free to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, John.
I'll just add that, and I think Catherine actually mentioned this, but the current focus seems to be on the programmatic elements in the RTA program. If you recall, the original one had not only these major roadways, but a safety element, environment and economic vitality element, and a transit element. And so that was the discussion, I believe, at the last CAC meeting. As Catherine said, there is a very recent memorandum from the RTA Executive Director that kind of lays out the specific projects and then just has some identified amounts that are potential for the other categorical elements. What I find interesting in all of this is what the city of Tucson is now doing. We're focused, like the rest of us, on the roadway elements only, but now they've started to really say, wait a minute, we should look at this holistically. Let's look at all the program elements as well. And that seems to be a discussion that is going on with the city of Tucson Mayor and Council. So I think that's worth watching and seeing how that evolves. That's the only thing I'd add, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or observations? Okay, thank you, Director Skinner.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay, now we're going to move to call to the audience, and I think we're making up for lost time here because it's been pretty light over the last few months, but I think we have 5 or 6 folks who would like to speak to the committee and want to share their thoughts and perspectives. So some are here in person and some are on WebEx, so we'll be getting Gilbert's help with the WebEx input as we go along. So I'm going to call the first person, and I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's names. Please forgive me early on or later, whichever you prefer. I don't care. But we'll get you to the microphone. Introduce yourself after I have brought you up, and then you can go ahead with your presentation. You may get some questions or not. Okay, the first person will be William Calkins. If you come on up to the microphone. And I believe William has some photos to share with us, so.
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to share the photos now, or?
Yeah, I have them right here, and I'll pass them around. As they get to the end, maybe somebody can circle around to the other side. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for letting me speak to you. I appreciate all you do. I understand from talking with Annabelle, who I've known from my South Point days as a counselor at South Point, that you're all volunteer. So I want to thank you for all that. And I'll just add a quick personal note to that, I've been a Pima County Sheriff Auxiliary volunteer for 15 years. So I know it takes a lot of time out of your time. So about a week ago today actually, I was sitting at my desk, and you might wonder, what does an old retired guy do sitting at his desk on a Tuesday? Well, I was writing a report for the Pima County Sheriff Auxiliary. Whenever we have a call out, I do all the after-action reports. Now, in addition to that, I do patrols, I drive big rigs, I do bike patrol, a few other things, neighborhood watch. But I heard a machine out front, so I've lived on this street for 45 years. I'm the last original owner on Puccini Place, which if I was to give a title to what I want to share with you in the next couple minutes, is the forgotten street, okay? I really have been impressed with all that's been spent on all these projects. In 2021, your Pima County DOT actually repaved all of Casa Sadova's estates east of the little wash that divides us. Puccini Place and 2 other cul-de-sacs were overlooked. I feel late to the party here because I did talk to you about the deteriorating picture. The best word picture I can come up with is a dried lake bed where the mud has just kind of segmented. That's what our street looks like right now. There really isn't anything to patch, folks. And I went out and talked to the very nice gentleman driving the street sweeper, had a nice chat with him. He shut down the machine, we talked. He said, well, they're going to do some more patching. I said, well, honestly, that's a waste of money. So I'm here just to kind of plead our case. I was trying to think of an illustration that would help you all. I'm not really sure what it is other than just to say we've been neglected and overlooked. Our street is part of a subdivision that was done 2 years ago. They repaved the subdivision south of us, which was built probably 10 years after our street. Most of what we saw on the screen today is building which has happened after probably 80, 85, maybe even 90, and our street is still unpaved. So I know you're on a schedule as far as when it can be done. I'd like to see it be a part of that Casa Sadova South, I think you were talking about, sir, it's Jason. But I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just here to plead our case. I think my time has probably run out. Thank you for your time, and just want to put Puccini Place on your mind. It was only 10 families. It's a cul-de-sac, so the traffic we get on it is the 10 families, other than the probably 6 or 8 dump truck or garbage trucks that come up the street every week. And that's really what's tearing up our pavement. I mean, it's the heavy traffic. So anyway, thank you for your time. I appreciate all you do, and hope we can get some help.
Well, thank you for stepping up. We appreciate hearing, and you'll get a response from staff. We'll put something together and get back to you. Thank you. Okay, the next person is Matthew Rectatar. Close? Okay, good enough. You can correct it when you get up there. Good idea.
All right. Again, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee members. So I guess what it comes down to is, so I've lived in Encanto Canyon 2 for 4 years. The roads were probably the worst thing about the subdivision. We've got 2 small kids now, and the roads are really kind of unusable. It's almost like you'd be better off having a gravel road, just because, you know, we've got kids with scooters, wagons, all those kind of things. You can't go on the road. It's just too rough. It tears up the wheels. My daughter has fallen a couple times. Just, you know, there's cracks, there's potholes. Again, similar to the previous person, it's not really worth patching at this point. I did notice that they paved Encanto Canyon, which is the subdivision north of us, about 2 years ago. And I think we're about the same age, so it kind of feels like we were maybe skipped over, which is obviously understandable. It's a pretty small subdivision, only 67 homes, so it's not very big. But if you look at like the second photo, you can see all the cracks and potholes, and then the third kind of zooms in. That's really what it looks like. It looks like we almost just have gravel that is just kind of stuck in place. And then if you look at that first page too, you'll see that the light gray color of the road compared to all the roads around us, I mean, it really is. The road's 30 years old. It was maybe 31 years old. The subdivision was built in '93, and I assume the roads were there before the subdivision. So I just kind of came to plead my case. My wife volunteered me for the HOA board. She said, your #1 job is to get our roads repaved. So here I am, I guess, trying to take initiative and just see where we're at and see if we can maybe get some help. So I do appreciate your time, but thanks.
Thank you. Any questions? Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. It's part of our job to listen to what's going on and to make sure it factors in as best we can. Again, you'll get a response from the staff, and any questions after that, feel free to step forward. Okay. I believe the next person is Catherine Burdick. Is Catherine WebEx, or is she here? WebEx. Okay. Catherine, can you help us, Gilbert?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
You can, okay. Great. My name is Catherine Burdick, and I live in the Bluffs at the corner of Overton and La Cholla. I respectfully request that the board place the completed repaving of Overton Road high on your list of projects. There are potholes, the sides of the road have eroded away in many places, and water collects in pools in several areas whenever it rains, all of this creating hazardous driving situations. A portion of the road was completed in 2020 going east from Thornydale, but it stopped. And the section from where there's improvements stopped past Shannon and continuing to La Cañada are in severe disrepair. This disrepair causes damage to cars, undue increased traffic noise, and hazardous driving conditions. Please consider continuing the repaving at least to La Cañada. Several school buses travel this road daily, and it not only adds wear and tear on the district buses, but to the poor road conditions with the standing water, water-filled potholes, and the disappearing sides of the road. These all put our children at risk. We'd like to see it repaved, add a bike lane and wider shoulders. And while we're at it, could you consider putting a bridge at Overton and La Cañada del Oro Wash? The rapid increase in housing communities that the county has approved has placed considerable additional burden not only on traffic-weary Overton, but also subjects homeowners and commercial drivers to the inconvenience and dangers of having to drive through an open wash that relies on humans to close it. The diverted traffic causes people delays and yet more traffic on an overlooked Overton. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. That was a lot, but yet rather concise. We appreciate it. Any comments or observations? Again, you will get a response from staff. We are mindful this is important to each and every person who comes, and whether you participate in person or via WebEx. So we'll move on to the next person. We have two more. The next person is Nisar Sukar. Are you there online?
No.
Okay, not online. Ian Shore, are you with us?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
So I will reiterate what Kathy Burdick just said. I moved here from Colorado 1.5 years ago, sight unseen actually. The realtor told me that it was a new development, new house, and a 1/4 mile from the bike path, which was a requirement for me. And we bought it. And then I got here, and actually Overton, between La Cañada and that bike path, is in such disrepair. So not only does it need to be repaved, as Kathy already said, and she mentioned as part of the repair, it needs the wide shoulders that are already there to be paved for a bike lane. Roads in this day and people over car throughput. Cities all over are spending money to make roads more suitable for people outside of a vehicle. And that section between the bike path and La Cañada, and then on the other side to La Cholla, has no shoulder. Every time I exit the bike path onto La Cañada, I'm literally praying that I don't get killed by a car who's driving so fast. They don't give you the 3 feet as they're supposed to, nor do they slow down. So if there was a different way for me to get to the bike trail, I would. but there isn't. And so Pima County really needs to step up and up their standards to the rest of Tucson, which has such a focus on cycling, and make their roads safer and for both the cyclists and pedestrians. You know, every other road around us is gorgeous with wide shoulders, but I guess those are Oro Valley roads because we're so close to Oro Valley. So, you know, either Oro Valley needs to take us over and fix our roads, or you really need to step up and make that safer. There's already a ghost bike at the corner of La Cañada and Overton, and trust me, we don't want there to be 2 ghost bikes there. So thank you, and please, please pay attention to Overton.
Thank you, Ian. We appreciate your input, and it was some reiteration of what Catherine said, so that it makes it doubly meaningful to us in terms of getting more than one person stepping forward. We will send a response. You should be receiving that from the staff, and any follow-on questions you have, certainly feel free. Are there any other participants from the audience? Yes, and your name?
Jerry Rumley.
Come on up, Jerry.
Actually, will be a little history lesson. I lived in Mesa, Arizona for 34 years. My wife decided, why don't we move to a small town? So we came to Tucson. And I settled in a little suburban area called Golden Heritage Village, which is up there at Mona Lisa and Ina Road, and up in that area. In 2017, when this organization was first gathered together to do road repairs, there was a map made, and our streets weren't put on the map. So I questioned that, and an engineer at the time, Rob Lane, followed up, looked at our streets, and said, well, they didn't look at your streets because they thought you were a privately owned community. But we are not. And he rated all our streets, all 1/4 or 3/4 of a mile of our streets as failed. So I came to meetings, and I've seen a lot of you before. I've kept kind of quiet to see what happens. And when the Mona Lisa Road was repaved, why, that went right by Golden Heritage Village. And I asked Rob, why don't you guys pave our 3/4 of a mile while you're here? And he said that was a great idea. And he passed it through the transportation department, and it failed because you didn't have the money. But now that I look back 10 years ago when the District 1 supervisor did have the money, and the supervisors took it away from her, we didn't get repaired. I'm standing here now, and I see this thing that says, move private label homeowners associations to county main roadways. Hey, what about Golden Heritage Village? I stood in front of a number of you over at another meeting one time and said, let's make Golden Heritage Village golden again, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate your stepping forward and appreciate your coming to our meeting, and you will get a response. Good history lesson for us, and believe me, some of us live on some tough streets.
Let's look at it this way. Right now, there is road repair equipment parked on Mona Lisa Road that our 104 residents go by every day on the way to the grocery store. Come on, what are you guys doing sitting down here? You're 1/4 miles away. And I talked to Jason about that. He said, we don't have the money. But I'll tell you what, if you can arrange to have me win the Arizona lottery, I'll pay for the streets myself.
Maybe we'll buy you some extra tickets. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your fortitude. So thank you again, and you will get a response. we are mindful of the issues that remain on our roads, so thank you. Anything else? Any others from the audience that we didn't capture? Gilbert's nodding his head, we're okay? We have another one. Okay, WebEx?
WebEx, her name is Sarah Strobush.
Okay.
Forgive me if I mispronounced your name. Are you there, Sarah?
Sarah, are you still on WebEx? This is your opportunity. Okay, so we're saying, nope, she's no longer there. Maybe she'll come next month. So thank you all for coming, and we appreciate your being a part of what we do. Our next meeting will be March 28th. If you have any items that we should know about for the agenda ahead of then, please step forward and let Annabelle know that. I think there's a date on here for that even, March 3rd, so you don't have a lot of time. So if you have any suggestions, please get to Annabelle. I also want to thank Supervisor Steve Christie for joining us via WebEx. Very important when our supervisors take the time to listen to our issues associated with roads. It's largely because of our supervisors that we've been fortunate enough to have some PAYGO funds over the last few years to really attend to our roads. So thank you, Supervisor Christie, for being a part of our deliberations. Are there any other topics we should bring up? If not, I think we're pretty well through the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
John Brunel moves for adjourn. Do we have a second? Okay, Patricia Free, seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, thank you all for coming.